Okie dokie then. I don't think there's any doubt that I'm going to be doing more updates like this one in the future, and any single one of them is only likely to be of interest to somebody who is really serious about beating negative expectation. I mean, anybody who looks on gambling as fun, as thrilling, exciting, entertaining, or whatever, is not going to want to delve into this kind of information. But basically, where I'm at right now, and today is the 4th of April in 2024, where I'm at right now is in this particular tab, I've now transcribed over from the videos to Excel 21 two shoes sessions against the Wizard of Odds blackjack simulation, and I'm still kind of smarting from a comment from just one guy on YouTube, but still, you know, he's a guy who said the Wizard's blackjack sim is rigged, and I don't suppose I'm ever going to know whether he meant that it was rigged to the point where I was getting unfairly beneficial treatment from it, or whether I'd rigged it, or whether it's impossible to beat. I don't know. It may be that he's tried to play it and has been unsuccessful. But anyway, the basic situation that I'm in now is that more and more the whole issue of card counting has become, for the first time ever actually, in all the years that I've been investigating and involved in the whole business of beating the house, beating negative expectation. For the first time, I'm taking a serious interest in card counting, not because I want to adopt it, but because I'm now very concerned that it in fact is a very, very misleading representation of how best to go about beating the house. And of course, as soon as that sort of conclusion becomes harder and harder to avoid, then the more it seems likely that card counting is in fact promoted by, encouraged by, and in general sort of like sponsored by the casino industry, because it helps to add to the, well, I can only assume, it helps to add to the mystique of blackjack and gives people the impression that they can beat it. And of course they love to put up these videos on YouTube and elsewhere of card counters being backed off, as they like to call it, chased out, told you can't play here anymore, how dare you, blah blah blah. And we get all the stuff about how card counters are treated as being the enemy by casinos. And of course that's perfectly true, because if card counters coincidentally are also winning, then they become automatically the enemy. Because to the casino business, anybody who doesn't fall into line with the kind of business model which says essentially all gamblers are idiots who want to lose their money, and we just have to encourage them by inventing stupid rules that will fleece them quicker, by feeding them free booze, which will make them even more stupid, so that they'll lose their money even quicker than they would have otherwise, etc., etc., etc. You know, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist under normal circumstances, but you know, I'm starting to think, okay, let's accept one thing as being logical, leaving aside the values of the bets that I make during the course of the operation of the rules of pattern betting, which basically could not be simpler. But anyway, that's beside the point. Leaving aside bet values, if you go and look at positive and negative deck values, to date, positive deck values have won 430 hands and lost 510, and negative deck values have won 572 hands and lost 659. So you add all of those together and you get 2,171, and the total number of hands is actually 2,638. So that means we've had zeros, neutrals, quite a number of times. I think it's shown there, 467 times there have been neutral counts. Professor Thorpe would right now be down $9,500 on the current 2,638 rounds, and that's not very good news. And in order to protect myself from people saying, well, you've got to work on true count and not running count, what I've done is I've set it up so that the true count is the only thing that applies to Thorpe. So in column AJ here, we have the true count, which is reached by me saying, okay, the average round in a heads-up situation, dealer and player, nobody else at the table, uses up 5 cards. So I get the cap. It's all basically based on as the shoe diminishes, and the wizard's shoes are very, very carefully set up so that there are 2 decks left in the shoe at the point where the shuffle comes. So only 6 of the 8 decks are actually in play. So all of that is taken into account to give the Professor Thorpe numbers that I have right now. And I'm not starting a campaign against card counting at all, but I'm merely trying to suggest to people who care about numbers that perhaps it would be wise not to swallow all of the spoon-fed stuff that comes to us about card counting, because I think it is actually of less value than we would like to think. And specifically for pattern betting against these, this block on this tab, on these 21 sets, so that's 42 shoes, we'd have lost, or we did lose 12,000 whatevers, widgets, dollars, ducks, donuts, doodlebugs, whatever. We lost 12,000 when there was a positive deck value. We won 262,000 plus when there was a negative bet value, and we won almost 34,000 when there was a neutral deck value. So to me that suggests that perhaps card counting is not the panacea, the holy grail, the whatever, the brass ring, the magic bullet, silver bullet, any of those things, because basically that's how it's presented. It's like, you go and you see these guys and they're terribly serious about card counting and advantage. And the only thing that I will say is that throughout, every time I came across one of these videos, or every time I read anything about card counting, and indeed when I spent quite a bit of time many years ago in downtown Las Vegas with a guy whose name I remember as being George Williams, and he turns out to have been a quite successful author and blackjack expert whose name apparently was not George Williams. But anyway, talking to him, what George did in the 2 or 3 hours that we were playing together was that he would bet the minimum 25 when the deck value was neutral or negative, and the maximum 100. And that's not table max or min, that's his chosen, personally selected max and min, and he bet 100 when the deck value was positive, and he came out, as I recall, a couple of thousand ahead at the end of the long session that we spent chatting and joking around and all the rest of it. I was ahead too, but not as greatly as him. But then on the other hand, I wasn't betting at the same levels as him. I was betting at table minimum, which was probably in those days, $2. And so I was in awe of the guy. I mean, this must have been, oh God, I don't know, before 1980, I think. So he was an advocate, but what I was always found mysterious was that I knew that in order to beat negative expectation, you have to have a wide betting spread, and it has to be as wide as you can make it. So if you can manage 1 to 1,000, which would be obviously $5 to 5,000, then that's good. The wider you can make it, the better off you are. And that is just a fact that has been confirmed countless thousands of times in countless thousands of models that I've created since I started out with VisiCalc, which was a real pain in the arse because you could hardly do anything with VisiCalc. And then I moved on to Quattro Pro, and as that got better and better and faster and smarter in keeping pace with computers and all the bits and bobs that go into computers, my models became more and more sophisticated. And then finally I moved over to Excel, not because I was in any way disappointed or disgruntled or let down by Quattro Pro, but simply because everybody else was using Excel, and it just made it easier to exchange ideas and to discuss formulas and all that sort of thing. That was back in the days before I became as secretive as I am now, and I don't tell anybody anything about my formulas unless they happen to accidentally see them. Like, for instance, the one that's in the top line, in the formula line at the top there, which simply describes how I get a true count rather than a running count, which of course a running count would not be fair on the Thorpe comparison. What else have I got here after my 21 shoes? More thrashings for the awful idea, the 2-1-2 Manhattan method, which actually has been doing quite well. It went all the way down from 27,500 ahead down to 41,500 down. Then it jumped up to 26,500, then back down again to about 40,000 down, and then a spurt just recently up to 16,000. So that's a win of 23 grand, and then a couple of wobbles. And now it's at minus 9,500. But what that basically says is that the only way that the 2-1-2 method can make any money is if it wins more hands than it loses. But more than that, it needs great extended player winning streaks. We had one recently. You can see here, looking over on the far right, that it went from 23,000 down to just 10 grand down, which is that's pretty damn good, But keep in mind, the minimum bet for this thing is what did I set it at? I think I set it at 500 maybe. Jeez, I don't really remember because I've kind of lost interest in the Manhattan method. I guess it must be. It's pretty high. It's a high value, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's $1 or $1 million. That's what it looks like, because the idea is that you go in one direction when you're winning and you go in another direction when you're losing, and it's just a load of crap. That's what it is basically. It's a load of crap. As always on these summaries. The Nevada Gaming Control Board, I love it where they call it gaming in Nevada. They can't say gambling because that's just too, gauche. But these win percents are the numbers that I always want people to look at. Just while you're telling yourself that these games are easily beaten, just look at these numbers down here on the far right. I mean, it's just terrible. What else have we got here? We've got the not surprising discovery or confirmation, repetition that low value bets lose. You don't see any success until you get to 5,000. Bets between 2001 and 5,000 made the grand total, profited a grand total of 7,750. Bets over 5,000 won a total of 331,000. So in other words, high value bets are the entire ball of wax. That's it. That's everything. That's where the money comes from. All the others are just, sort of just time wasting, building up to big bets that then do incredibly well. I did run a little test here about my errors, which embarrass me terribly, and which I keep discovering when I transcribe the Wizard of Oz Baccarat Sim sessions. Total of 124 of them so far. They actually, on average, benefit me to the tune of $12 or 12 quid, 12 rabbits, 12 pellets, 12 peanuts, 12 whatever. A total over all of these hands of 1,432 in my favour, and that figure could be turned negative in just one mistake. So we're not talking about anything serious here. It's a nuisance, it's embarrassing, but it doesn't do me any good. So that's all that I wanted to find out, because I had said many times in summaries like this one in the past, well, I don't know whether they help or not, but sometimes I make money out of them and sometimes I lose money. So that's basically confirmed, and it's logical. It's nothing clever on my part. It's just common sense, And if they are random errors, then they're going to even out over time. Everything comes out in the wash, as they say. So let's go back to home, the far end of this thing. What we're now looking at is in this block of 2,638 bets, the Wizard has kicked my ass to the tune of almost 5%, which is way high. I would expect somewhere between a half of 1% and 1% negative, and we've got minus 4.8 here. So maybe that guy was right. Maybe the Wizard Sim is rigged. But if it's rigged, then I'll tell you this: I haven't caught it out yet, because I spent a lot of time going very, very carefully through several sessions, noting every single card and looking for excess tens or excess anything, and every time I'd get to the shuffle and everything was perfectly in order. And also I tracked the count, and there were a couple of occasions when we might have been in agreement or in disagreement, but never to any great value, maybe 2 or 3 pips, that's all, So in the end I decided, okay, I'm going to accept the dealer, the simulations estimates of, or not estimates, but outright statements of the current deck value, and I have no problem with doing that. I don't feel bad about it. And the only thing that I can say to anybody out there who is a counting convert or a counting evangelist or whatever, run your own checks. You don't have to play through sessions if you don't want to. If you're nice and polite about it, I will either put up on YouTube where you can speed them up, or whatever. I will supply you with prior sessions that I've played off, and you can then count through them from, because each time you get the yellow card or the yellow warning which says this is the last hand, so you know exactly where the shuffle comes in each case. And I'm happy to do that, because like I say, I'm not against card counting. I just thought, well, while I'm getting this information, I might as well include it in the summaries. And then, by golly, I discovered that counting apparently doesn't work, and I've been doing the card counting now, not just in these 2,638 here, but in a few more. There's another 975 there, and another 115 there. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So I've been now card counting for about 4,000 rounds. Yeah, just about 4,000 rounds, I'd say. So 4,000 is a lot. I mean, you're looking at least, at the very least, 20 hours and probably 30. And if something doesn't work in 20 or 30 hours of play, then maybe you should start thinking that perhaps it's not a good idea, Random betting, by the way, for this particular set, that can be started up again every time by going, like this. And we're to the point now where it's very unlikely we're going to see any, in what is it, K7 through M7, we're not going to see any positives. I'd be very surprised against a minus 4.8 or 4.8 house edge. We sometimes get a little bit close, but by and large, I mean, how many reiterations is there? Oh, 250. Woo! That's good. Yeah. But anyway, random betting is just it's idiocy. It's craziness. So that's why I say gamblers gamble to lose and players play to win. And I just find it extraordinary that people like Brandon O'Brien and Jason Bulkey, who's also known as Mr. Handpay. I've always found that a very, very funny name, but anyway, I suppose because I have a dirty mind. So just to go down, I need to go to AC. Where the hell are you, AC? We're at ABAC. So going down, this was an absolute horror story. And this is an example of a session which I would have abandoned long before the end of the shoes or whatever. But because I'm always anxious to appear or to be as kind of like even-handed as possible, I've included it because I knew that ultimately everything would turn out, everything would come up roses or whatever. This is the dip, which took us all the way down to just a ridiculously low level. The 3,007 up there exposure means in the actual ongoing sequence of bets between the first bet and eventual turnaround. So we went, nearly 400,000 down, but only 250,000 down in terms of the bankroll, because the bankroll was solid at that point. It couldn't have been that much. I'm not exactly sure about, but anyway, honestly the charts are accurate, and I've got in each one of these things, I've got the win-loss patterns showing like this, and it enables you to see how often it is that the house is way ahead of us in terms of kicking ass, but we don't need a huge number of wins in order to turn around. We just need a couple here and there. And so here we go. Along the top, the green things up there are obviously the win streaks or the win pattern, and the red nasties down below are the loss pattern. And that applies again and again and again. That was a fairly nasty dip, but we came out of it. And the point is, you have to believe, you have to know that if you follow the rules and if you hang in there and if you bet smart, then you will come out alive with money. This was like, what was that, a 40,000 drop there, and then boom, boom, back up. And if you look here, because these two things coincide because they're covering the same time period or the same number of rounds. If you look here, the big turnaround came on what? Bugger all. I mean, but it happened, and it'll keep being like that. That's how it is. That's just how the game is. So we keep going down, and you'll see the same story again and again and again and again and again. Upper one shows you where pattern betting ended up after some hiccups, some brown trouser moments, and then the win-loss pattern is shown as well. And I'll just keep that up, and I'll go all the way to the end. This is running on a bit, but that's all right. And this, horrible. Look at this. I mean, the house was kicking the crap out of us, but we still came out with a profit. Sometimes you'll see activity, you'll see more delight in green than the horror in red, but mostly the wizard has been kicking my ass. I mean, look at this. And yet, up above, there you see it. How the pattern betting strategy performed. And I can only tell this story so many times. I mean, look at that. My golly, look at that. That was just awful. I mean, but still, we made money. And again, that looks pretty nasty, doesn't it? So I hope that there's somebody out there who's getting my point about all of this, because, this is not fun and games. It is serious. I actually do find it fun simply because, I know, well, I can't say for sure that I'm swimming upstream alone, because I suspect that there are plenty of people who know how to beat negative expectation. I'm really interested in a guy who made a big splash a few years back. His name was the same as an actor, Don Johnson. And he made a big splash because he made about 12 million before he was eventually shown the door. But he intrigues me, because I bet you he's discovered something very similar to what I did. I think that's the last one. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. So there we are. And the very last one here was overall was in our favour. The last number in this line here shows the house advantage or disadvantage, and if that's a positive number, then that means that we had a player edge for the last couple of shoes. It was 5.9%. We made 10%. We made 4,400 on action of 44,000, which is pretty good. That's 10%. And the expectation would have been it was about 3,000. Yeah, about 3,000. I think maybe I should add that, actually, just put the expectation in there. Why not? I'm just trying to remember to do it. Yeah, I will do that for next time. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how these things work, and it is consistent. It's a reality. It's a fact of life. And I think it's time that people accepted that the house can be beaten, should be beaten, and that's the name of that tune, as they say. But yeah, you see, that one was 2,618 was expectation, because we had a player edge there. Going up to the next one, let's have a look. Yeah, see, that would be a loss, an expected loss, but we made 12,000. Next one up, we should have made a lot. Yeah, we still made more than. See, some of these things, there's a very clear player edge. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes it's horrible. See there, we should have lost 5,000. Instead of that, we won 5,000, almost the same amount. So we kind of reversed it. Maybe I'll just keep on doing this because I'm in for a penny. Yeah, we made 7,700 and something. We should have made, with an 8.6% player edge, we should have made 1,931. You get the picture anyway. I'm sure you can see what I'm doing. There, it should have been a loss. And on it's going to go, because we had some really, really nasty sessions, but we had some good ones too. But I watched Jason doing his thing on YouTube, and I'm thinking, the only way you win is when you win more bets than you lose. Otherwise, you just get your ass kicked. And he's all over the place with his bets. I mean, it's just bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Well, that's such a huge probable loss or indicated loss that it won't even fit. There we go, 11,000. So we should have lost 11,413, and instead, damn it, we won 18,000, nearly 19,000. That doesn't apply that often, let's face it. Look at some of these early ones, though. I mean, they would have put us out of business, wouldn't they? Yeah, I think this is a useful exercise, actually, adding this, because it really does bring the point home. It does to me, anyway. I mean, look at some of these things. I mean, 16%, the house kicked my ass by 16%. And then you get the ones that offset it, the nice ones. There, we should have won 1,492, but instead we made 5 grand. I like my way better, to be honest. Oh yeah, this is me and my New Yorker thing. I love that. Look who brought a taco to a burrito fight. And look at that one there. I mean, that was just bloody hell. Bloody hell. Ay, ay, ay. My first word process. Got to have a little bit of a laugh now and then, haven't you? But I hope you're getting the picture here anyway. I mean, and look at that for a house edge. I mean, that's just awful. I'll eventually get back to online betting, playing, and now, of course, with this recording thing available, the next time I see some really questionable results, I can at least funnel them on with a recording to the Gambling Commission, because the Gambling Commission has got to be, oh, look at that, that's got to be the worst. We should have lost 183,000, and by golly, we just swam upstream as usual, and we won 84,000. Which was 12.4% instead of minus 27.1%. But, bloody hell, it was hard work. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's got to be interesting to some people, hasn't it? I mean, surely. Anyway, that's it for now. We're at 33 minutes, so I'll stop wittering, except to say down here is all of the wizard things, not just on this tab, but all the prior ones. We're now approaching 600,000 smackers, 10.5% of total action. We should actually, according to the actual value, the minus 3.8% overall was where we've been beaten up by the the rigged wizard blackjack simulation. We should have lost 276,000, and instead we won 586,000. That's what have we got? We've got a 314% return on risk. And like I said, the average or the overall house advantage is minus 3.8%. It was 4.8% in this set of 42 shoes, but overall 3.8%. And if you look down here, you'll see that of the 12 sessions so far, only 3 were positive. All the others were very much in the house's favour. The worst one being 18% in the house's favour, and then 17% there, 12%. So that's how it is. And I just want to stress, before I finally do what I promised to do and stop talking, I just want to stress that I am very, very careful with my numbers here. I don't cheat. There's no point. All of the work that I've been doing for all these years would be a complete and utter waste of time if I were cheating, because there's no advantage to that at all. And years ago I worked for a group of guys who had a really, really shitty product that they were trying to sell to the state of California, and I had to keep on reminding them, grinding away at them until finally they gave up, or at least they gave up on me. I just said to them, I said, you know, just suppose that you managed to talk the state into buying this crap. They're going to do their own tests, and in a month they're going to know that you're crooks. So why bother? You know, I mean, why go in for it in the first place? It's ridiculous. And you know, it was a strange kind of 3-month experience. I was very well paid, very promptly paid as a consultant, and a PR consultant, and a general sort of writer for them, writing all their proposals and so on. And essentially, their product was completely useless. Their theories were absolute gibberish, nonsense, and they were trying to pull a fast one over the state of California. I mean, what? So people are strange. But anyway, end of nattering, end of video, and I'll no doubt have another chance to bore the shit out of you later on. Bye bye.